Hi, I'm psychologist Dr. Ali Mattu. I spent my career treating anxiety, and in this video, I'm gonna show you how to stay anxious forever. Wait, is that what we're going with? Yeah, our research indicates people are more likely to watch a video when it's framed in terms of avoiding a loss versus making a positive gain. Well, that's messed up. Yeah, but do you want the views or not? Let's get into it. The first thing you must do is avoid everything that makes you anxious. This will keep you from gaining real-world knowledge about the thing you fear. It also teaches your body that the only way to calm down is by running away. What's really effective about this approach is you never develop other coping skills because you never stick with the situation long enough to learn how to ride that wave of anxiety. Step 2 is to believe your thoughts completely. Sure, your thoughts just reflect back how you're feeling, and when you're feeling anxious, you're gonna have anxious thoughts. And yeah, anxiety's job is to keep you safe and prepared, and anxious thoughts are always gonna exaggerate real-world dangers. But if you wanna stay anxious forever, it's really important you accept these thoughts as reality. That means believing all the mind-reading thoughts you have about how everyone thinks you're a complete loser. Believe all those fortune-telling thinking traps about how things aren't gonna go well in the future and you won't be able to cope with it. And yes, I want you to believe that all the good things that happen to you don't really count and they're not gonna happen again. You can also try fighting these thoughts because the more you wrestle with them, the more powerful they become. What's great about this approach is the more you believe in these thoughts, the less risk you're going to take on in the future. This supercharges your anxiety because the less everyday risk you take on, the more daily anxiety you feel. I know it's counterintuitive. Just think about anxiety like a weed. The more you avoid it, the more it grows and ends up taking over everything. Here's a pro tip to enhance your anxious thoughts. Go online and look up information that backs up your worries. This is next level stuff because you are guaranteed to find something on the internet that backs up your fears. Sure, it might be some super shady post on Reddit from 13 years ago, but it doesn't matter. When you're anxious, you're gonna have a hard time getting that post out of your head. This will give you something new to obsess over. It might trigger new fears. And what's great about this is when people try to talk you out of your anxiety, this will give you something you can use to talk about how all your fears are warranted. Now, I don't want you to get stuck in your head. To be anxious forever, you also need to get in touch with your feelings. And by that, I mean get hypersensitive to them. Most people know that your body is supposed to get activated when you're anxious, the same way you get activated when you're exercising. Ignore that urge to normalize your anxious sensations. Instead, stay alert for every change that occurs inside your body. This means being hyper aware of every change in your breathing, your heart rate, your sweating, all the stuff. Always ask yourself, why is this happening? What's wrong with me? And can other people tell? What's magical about this technique is it keeps your focus inside of you as opposed to what's happening around you. If you focus on your surroundings, you run the risk of gaining real-world knowledge, and that might reduce your anxiety. So if you want to stay anxious forever, keep your focus inside. At this point, you might start wondering, why is this happening to me? Instead of focusing on honest explanations like how anxiety runs in families and maybe it's genetic for you, or you went through a really bad experience and now your mind associates this situation with fear, or maybe you just never learned how to deal with this kind of situation before, instead of focusing on that stuff, keep thinking about how there's something wrong with you. Ignore the statistic about how anxiety disorders are the most common mental health problem. Ignore the data about how many people are also experiencing this exact same problem as you. Ignore the reality about how there's excellent self-help resources, psychotherapies, and medications for anxiety problems. Instead, focus on how you are the problem, how strange you are, and how you're beyond help. One of the best things you can do at this point to stay anxious forever is to keep your anxiety to yourself. Never talk about it with anyone else. If you talk to someone else about your anxiety, well, you run the risk of finding out how common your anxiety problem is, and that might make you feel less alone and more hopeful about overcoming it. And then other people might offer ideas on how you can cope with your anxiety and start facing your fears. Always remember that anxiety grows best in silence and isolation. If you have to share your anxiety with someone else, be sure to find someone who will help to accommodate it. This means someone who will make excuses for you, helps you to get out of commitments, and just make sure that you never have to face your fears. Parents can be great for this. Also, teachers and coworkers. But be careful, some of them might want to work with you on helping you find a way to overcome these problems. This shouldn't be too difficult though. Most people are happy to help you avoid your fears because they just don't want to see you suffer. But little do they know that avoidance is what really keeps suffering alive. Now, if you have to venture outside, always remember to carry a safety object. That's something that quickly makes you feel better, but it's not really helping you cope with your anxiety because you're not really facing your fears. Like if you have to go to a social event, have your phone fully charged so you can stay buried in it so you never have to face anyone else. And if you have to fly and you're afraid of having a panic attack, just numb yourself with alcohol. Safety objects can also be applied to other people. If you have separation anxiety, just put tracking devices on every member in your family and obsessively monitor them. Now, if someone's pestering you to do something about your anxiety, you're gonna love my next tip. Go see a therapist. Surprised you, didn't I? But here's what you're gonna do. Go see someone who doesn't have a clue how to treat anxiety. Look for a therapist on Psychology Today or BetterHelp that lists everything as their expertise. Like they're an expert in aging and childhood issues, family therapy, couples therapy, individual work, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, schizophrenia, head trauma, ADHD, autism. They do it all because there's no way anyone can be an expert in all those things. When you're in treatment with them, make sure they never ask you to do anything like exposure therapy, where you are recreating some of your fears, learning how to manage them, and learning how to face them. Make sure you just sit in a chair, never do anything that recreates your fears, and never leave their office with any exercises that you should do on your own. To truly stay anxious forever, you want to find a therapist that just makes you feel comfortable and never really pushes you to do anything about this stuff. And that shouldn't be hard, because that's a lot of therapists. Now, if you want to learn how to overcome your anxiety, check this out right over here. How was that? Good, but why are you talking to me? Isn't this how you manufacture authenticity on YouTube? Yeah, but not when you're the only person in the room. Just stick to the script and look at the camera, Dr. Ali. Be sure to like and subscribe.